Conceive, believe, achieve.
This is former UFC middleweight champion of the world, Michael Bisping.
Paddy the Baddy here. You're listening to Combat Sports UK.
And you're watching Combat Sports UK.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Combat Sports UK MMA podcast. I am Taylor Collin and I am joined by Jon. Yes, I told you so. Game bred, Bogus Lasky. Jon, how are you, mate? Nice to see you as always.
Nice to see you. Excited to be back. I did told you so, but we'll keep that for later.
We'll keep that for later. Let's just have a quick couple of minutes on that thing that happened in Saudi Arabia. You kind of recorded a little pod with Patrick Dana beforehand. What were your thoughts overall about the event that we eventually got over there in Saudi Arabia, PFL v Bellator?
Well, good thing PFL bought Bellator because it seems like their talent pool is very low. Me and Patty will do a breakdown of that as well, so keep an eye out for that. But
nice.
Good amount of fights. The first fight of the night, the amateur fight, we talked about. It was surprising there was an amateur fight there, but it was a really good, fun fight. Overall, a lot more finishes than I thought they would have. So it was pretty entertaining. It was a good fight night for Saturday, starting with the PFL Bellator and then going into UFC Mexico.
Yeah, it would have been nice for you guys across the pond there with that time zone and people to stay up. Obviously, in our time zone. I mean, I have a couple of opinions. PFL and Bellator fought, and in the end, the UFC won pretty much because it proved a couple of things. PFL have got a terrible roster. Bellator doesn't have any draws, really. They can't sell out a stadium in Saudi Arabia. That's quite grim. Overall, I think there was a lot of complaints about the production and things like that on our side. And then the UFC, basically their biggest talking point was a UFC fighter. Jon Jones turning up. Francis Ngannou didn't even stick around to do a face-off. He's never going to fight at the PFL. Overall, I thought it was a bit of a PR nightmare for PFL, and they better hope that something comes out of this lawsuit that's happening in April with the UFC, because that's the only thing that's really going to change the MMA landscape. It was kind of like, for me, it was kind of like when you're like, not what I've experienced this, but when you're texting with a girl, right, and you say, yeah, I've got a six pack, I'm ripped and everything, and then you meet in real life and you don't.
And you got a dad bod.
Right.
Yeah.
That's kind of like my analogy as to what that card was. I'm sure people out there enjoyed it, but it was not for me. Let's dive straight into what happened in Mexico, because you're obviously going to review that properly with Pat. Fight Night Mexico didn't turn out so great for the big names of Mexican MMA, but it was a good night of fights overall from what I saw on the main card. What did you think?
Yeah, stunner for the Mexican crowd. Right, Yair and Moreno losing. You know, they're two bigger stars that were on the card and didn't show out. But the prospects coming out of Mexico did impress me, and it seems like there's a lot of them coming in the pipeline, and we'll see more of them in the future. So it's a big uprising for Mexican stars, even though the current Mexican stars, Moreno and Yair, have a bit of a slump right now.
Yeah, I totally agree, and it's great having that Performance Institute open up. And obviously, another reason the UFC won the weekend is Dana announced 306 will be in the Sphere. Who hell knows what that's going to look like? But that's going to be sick. That's going to be incredible. Let's jump straight into the main event, man. A split decision win for Brendan Royval. First of all, how did you score it? Did you score it that way? Split decision for Royval?
It was close for me. I was like, either person, whoever gets announced, I don't mind the victory to get, because I scored pretty close. I also had it for Royval just because Moreno was way too patient in round one and round two. It wasn't like Moreno was pushing the pace. He was more trying to do counters. And when Moreno took down Royval a few times in the later rounds, he didn't do much damage. So I understand the judge's decision. I'm not mad about it. It's just sad because I like Moreno. And especially we just saw Royval and Pantoja. Well, we both men just fought Pantoja, and we're like, okay, the winner of this will get the flyweight championship fight. But neither man impressed me. That like, okay, put them right back in with Pantoja.
Yeah, because they're looking at that 301 card, aren't they? Right. So I think they were kind of hoping that somebody would jump off jump off the card here. I mean, I
And
guess.
the way Roval stood up as well after his press conference, the post fight press conference, this does not look like he's gonna be ready for 301.
Yeah, no, that was not good. I mean, I had it Brandon Moreno. To be honest, I was really to and throwing on that last round, but I think it's one of those, right? There are guys that throw a lot of volume, right? You think of Holloway and Strickland, for example. If you think about the Holloway Calvin Kattar fight, right? Because Royval, I think, got the second number of strikes thrown in this fight, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously, the first being Holloway versus Kattar. The massive difference here is Holloway's shots land. Royval's shots land on the high guard of Brandon Moreno. How can you count that as damage and a significant strike? Yeah, 2 or 3 of them out of 10 got through, maybe even out of 20. So for me, I gave Moreno the fight. Yeah, split decision. No, I gave Moreno 3-2. So I gave him 1, 2, and 5. Because I think Royval really turned it up in those middle rounds, and I don't think Brandon quite had an answer for it. But yeah, man, I just a funny card for me. I think a really, really funny card, and I don't know, like you said, I don't know where either of them go next. Right? It's almost as if they need to fight again. This seems to keep happening with Brandon Moreno, right?
Yeah. Well, there's like the fight that was first announced, Moreno versus Aziz.
Albazi, yeah.
Abazi, sorry, yeah. So Abazi is definitely gonna be. I feel like it should be Royval versus Abazi for the number 1 contender right now. You can't throw Royval back to Pantoja after getting 50-45 by him. Yeah. Talking of strikes, yeah. So Royval threw 556 strikes and 177 landed. That's 31% compared to Moreno, who threw 219 and landed 119, which was 54%. So just throwing strikes just in the air doesn't do damage, doesn't give you points or anything.
Yeah.
So it might look good at the moment that you're putting up more pace and pressure, but you're not doing any damage to your opponent. So it shouldn't count anything towards you.
Yeah, exactly. When you're only really landing at, what was the percentage? 38%?
31% for Royval.
31%.
And
you're
even
basically
less
landing
and
1 in 3.
even less than significant strikes. Sorry.
Yeah, even less than significant, right? You're landing 1 in 3 punches. Like it's not a great look. And when you say landing, like I would assume that those are the ones
Yeah.
who's landing on the gloves, right?
If it hit for what it says total strikes, if it hit you, yeah, it counted it. It counted
Yeah,
as
so
a
there you
glove.
go.
Yeah.
So there you go. And I would guess those significant strikes are the only ones that actually got past his gloves, right? So you're even skewing the data even less there. So yeah, from
145 significant strikes.
145. Yeah, and I
Out of
think with those that
510.
Brendan threw, they just had more damage, and they actually looked to rock Royval. They kind of looked to put him on the back step a little bit. I think it got a bit too predictable because he was just kind of going for that overhand, but especially in the first round, he caught him with a really nice left hook. I can't remember if it was towards the end of the round. But for me, that's what sneaked the round, because it was an incredibly close round, and like you said, I can see how it went either way. Henry Cejudo's making noise about calling out Brandon Moreno. I've just seen today. Do you think that's the way to go? Like, where do you go if you're Brandon Moreno in here? And you always said Royval towards Albazi. What do you do if you're Brandon Moreno?
Moreno's to find another contender. I think he's officially now the gatekeeper. You beat him, you get the title shot. But you gotta do enough. Royval didn't do enough, so he shouldn't get it. But he might be lucky because of the lack of contenders in the division right now. Moreno, I see him fighting somebody like Kai Kara France for a third time. Although he has 2 victories over him, so I'm not sure what they'll do there. But Manel Kape, even Matheus Nicolau, he could have a shot at it. He had a scheduled fight with Manel Kape, and Kape couldn't make weight. So there's definitely fights for him in the division, but he's going to fight lower. He can't fight higher.
I mean, to be honest, I think Manel Kape he's really damaged himself with that weight miss. Yeah, you got Kai Kara France in there, Nicolau. I mean, it's a very big stretch, but if Mohammed Mokaev goes and does something ridiculous against Alex Perez,
Yeah. No,
you know,
that could be it. That could be it. Makayev beats Perez, especially if he gets another finish. Throw him in Moreno, see what he does, and then that will shoot him to the title shot. And in terms of Cejudo, calling out Moreno, I think it's a little bit ridiculous because Cejudo at this point just talks more than does anything else. And I can't see Moreno 135. I think 125 is a good weight for him. I think Cejudo will have to make 125 again, and I think he's a bit too buff to make 125.
so then if they are going to do that 301, I mean, let's talk about the title picture for a second. If they are going to do that 301 title fight with Pantoja, because you know Pereira's obviously out, he's doing UFC 300. Are there any other Brazilian champions? I can't think off the top of my head. I don't think there is. I think Pantoja is the only one, right?
Pantoja is the only one, yes.
Yeah, Pantoja is the only one. So he's obviously your one you want to get there. Who'd you do? Who do you make that fight with?
I have a feeling Pantoja is going to be there, but they're probably going to, if there's no other person that could turn around so quickly, they'll throw in Royval and Pantoja. But I don't feel like it's going to get many people excited. Just me talking about it, I don't want to see that fight again. I feel like we should give Royval more time to fight somebody else to prove he could do it, because he didn't impress me with Moreno. He definitely didn't impress me with Pantoja in the last fight. But Pantoja will definitely see him on the card. If it's not Royval, it has to be probably like what you said. Mokaev has to do something first round finish to say, look, everybody I fought, I finished them. There's nobody else who could do like me in the flyweight division. Throw me in the title shot. If it's a nice victory, a nice call out, I don't see why UFC won't do that fight.
Yeah, if he can turn it around. Yeah, I think that's, you know, because you look at Albazi's injured. Royval, yeah, he's coming off a win, but he's got a loss to the champ. Kai France coming off a loss. Mateus Nicolau coming off a loss. Manel Cap, his weight cut, then they're never going to do that. And then you've got Perez and Mokaev that are matched up. So yeah, if you are going to do it for 301, those, you know, I'm going to bang that Mohammed Mokaev drum. If he goes out there and starches Alex Perez in that first round, he can talk. So if he gets on the mic and calls for it, why not? You know, why not?
Exactly, yeah. Because you need somebody. You need a Brazilian to headline 301. Pereira is too risky. You don't know the kind of damage he'll get versus Hill, and if he wins, he has to win as well, right? To be
he's not going to turn around in a month.
He won't turn around in a month. Even if he wins, or if he loses, you do a rematch with Hill. Like it's too risky. With the injuries, you never know. So it could be that Pantoja will headline or co-main, and the headliner would be a champion that's not Brazilian.
Could be, yeah, could be. Let's go down to the co-main event, the Rising of Lazarus.
Yeah,
Brian Ortega back from a 2-year break. None of us gave him a chance, right? You can't say I told you so on that one. He submits Yair Rodriguez in an arm triangle. And I believe towards the end of the third round.
Round 3, yep.
In the co-main event. After getting 10-8 did. Like, I'm very confident that was a 10-8 in that first round.
Yeah.
Man, what a comeback. What do we think about Brian T. City Ortega? Is he back on the bus? Is he back in the bandwagon, so to speak?
He is so back. I am bandwagoning. He's so back. Not only did he get 10-8 in the first round, he 10-9 himself in the announcement of Bruce Buffer.
Yeah.
I thought when I saw that, and he jumped, landed, and then he rolled his ankle and he looked back at his corner. I'm like, oh, what's happening? Did he hurt himself? And then he came out and got 10-8. I'm like, oh, he's definitely hurt. He's definitely injured.
Yeah.
But we're so used to seeing Ortega getting the living crap beat out of him versus Holloway and Volkanovski. I guess versus Yair, he found a way to come back because he got the crap beat out of him for the first round, whether it was on the feet, got hurt, and then got knocked, and then on the ground, Yair was landing some nasty shots and came back. Like I guess he went through a lot of adversity, right? He spoke about it after the fight, how he lost his best friends. He found God at church, and he did what he had to do to come back. He went back to his roots. He's a black, I think he's a second degree or third degree black belt jiu-jitsu. So he did what he had to do. He made Yair short his elbow and locked in the choke at the end there. So very
and
impressive.
you can see from the footage as well. He was practicing it backstage. I mean,
Oh yeah.
great work from the guy, man. To come back from that adversity, to turn your ankle. I mean, I've done that enough times in a football match to know that ain't easy to come back from. Let alone if you're about to go out and fight Yair Rodriguez.
And you're like worried that like did I break, or is it like just it just feels sore?
Yeah, what's going on here? What's going on?
Yeah, so it's nerve-wracking.
It sets it up, man. It really, really. I mean, he dominated those second 2 rounds. He got absolutely obliterated in the first. This guy's tough to put away. Apart from stopping him on his stool, did Max Holloway stop him on the stool, or was it a stoppage in the fight?
Holloway.
Yeah, right. It was. So apart from doing that, and you balance this out with that guy that just won the belt, whose name we shall not speak of. You balance that out with Ilia Topuria, right? And you say, okay, matchup wise, is it the way to go? I think yes, because we were all saying last week, look, if Yair wins, which we all thought he would, he gets the shot. I think you got to put the same in there for Brian Ortega, right? Based on a fight-by-fight basis. Yes, he's been out for a while. There's an argument why he shouldn't. With Max Holloway being away, who else is there? And they want to do that Spain card. I think that's a big deal for them. None of us want Volk to take that fight. So please just put Ortega in there. Let him kind of get, I don't know, does he get the brakes beaten off of him against Topuria? I mean, how do you see that one going?
So Topuria's kind of growing on me. I kind of like the guy.
Right, and
I'll start with
end meeting.
I don't know how I'm still at Combat Sports UK with all the things I'm saying. So I do think they'll do a rematch, Volk Topuria. We all agree that no matter what happens, Volk will get the rematch for Topuria. I think they're gonna give as much time as needed for Volk. I could see the featherweight belt being held on to until after International Fight Week. So we could see August, October, November. They could do MSG in November, maybe. So I think it's gonna be a hold off for a while. What we need to see Ortega is right back into the octagon. I think he has to fight maybe a rematch with Holloway, depending what it does with the BMF belt. Mosar Evloev, maybe Arnold Allen. And just Ortega, we haven't seen enough, especially being hurt. So he loses to Holloway for the belt, and then fights the Korean Zombie. He wins, fights Volkanovski. He loses, fights Yair, wins. So I don't think he has to go. He's not necessarily back in the title picture, but he is the number one contender now for me. He is going to be the guy that you have to beat to get the title shot. Because of Volkanovski as a champion for so long, he's definitely getting that rematch with Topuria. And we have a potential trilogy up there with Topuria and Volkanovski. So the contenders have to build up underneath them.
Yeah, I think if you're the UFC and the UFC is a marketing machine, you get Spain booked as soon as possible. You get Topuria in there with Ortega. If he can turn around, we don't know what kind of damage that ankle did. Or Evloev. Those are the two standouts for me at the moment, because I want Volk to next year, bud. Christmas or next year, just get out of there. Just go do something else for a while. Come back fully fit. I think even later this year is going to be too soon. I think it's Ortega or Evloev. You pick one of those two, probably Evloev, and then maybe you do Ortega, Josh Emmett on the undercard of that, and then you say, okay, this is the next guy after Volk. Yep. I think we'd set it up pretty well, because Emmett's coming off a really impressive KO victory. You want to keep Ortega active. There was a real good fight too. Yeah, it'd be a sick fight. There's a real narrative for Yair Rodriguez, but he didn't get the job done. Evloev and Topuria going back and forth on social media. I literally saw one just before we jumped on, where Topuria was talking about Makhachev, and Evloev comes back with him like, "You want to fight Messi, LeBron? You actually want to fight anyone in your division?" I just love that. And yeah, to Poirier as a fighter, I like him. If I just separate all the other BS that goes with him, I like him as a fighter. He's incredibly entertaining. He's got a great style and he's skillful everywhere. And he's a problem for everybody. So
And he's
yeah,
young.
and he's young, and he's young. A quick one on Yair Rodriguez before we go into the Zulaba fight. What do you think about him next?
Tough to say. Because Yair is always, he had this weird time where he wasn't fighting because he was suspended. Where you saw that they didn't put his location, and then he fought Holloway, he lost, but then he still got the interim title shot with Emmett, because there's no other contenders. So, Yair definitely take some time off because he has been active lately with the interim, fighting Volk, fighting Ortega. Take a little bit of time off, regroup yourself, and maybe have that maybe Evlev, maybe a Barboza would be like a fun fight, Barboza at featherweight. Have somebody who you could stand with just to remind everybody who you are. I don't know where he trains exactly, but Mexico City is very very high altitude, higher than Salt Lake City. I don't know if he gassed out after round one.
It looked like it, right? I was wondering that as well.
Yeah, I know he's from Chihuahua, Mexico, but I don't know where he trains everywhere. So I don't know if he was used to the altitude. So, get the lungs back and have a fun fight. I feel just somebody who's also a kickboxer, like maybe even a Giga. He will be a fun fight for a year. Somebody who's lower down the rankings will kind of look like you're giving somebody a shot to get into the top 5, but just prove you could be in the top 5, and then you'll be right back in that title contention.
Yeah, I would like to see that. Yeah, take a bit of time out and then try and get one maybe back end of this year against one of those names you've mentioned. A Mexican who did win on the card. There's a few of them. Daniel Zulaba and Francisco Prado, unanimous decision for Zulaba. How on earth did people let Francisco Prado get back to the center of the cage going into that third round? It is beyond my comprehension how that happened.
Took years off his life. What a tough guy Prado is. Tough guy. But round 3 shouldn't have happened. I think the wizard in the corner, they're like clearing up his nose from the blood, but it just kept leaking just as much as you were clearing it. So I think clearly a broken nose, a broken orbital. I don't know how many concussions he got there too. I don't know how to let him, but Daniel, very impressive.
Daniel looks exciting.
One of the Mexican prospects that we could see climbing out the rankings, and I'm pretty sure I said with this fight we could see probably 5 years down the line as both men be ranked in the top 15, top 10 of lightweight division, and have a real rematch to go see who would fight for the belt like down the line. Daniel's very good. Good striker. He's a very good striker. He lands the strikes. He has a good counter, and he did everything except put the guy away. That's it.
Yeah, which he should have done, right? If the corner team saying to him, "You don't need your eyes." So what was it exactly they said? Was it that you don't need 2 eyes or something like that?
Something like that. I don't quite remember, but
then Michael Bisping, tweeted like, "No, you're right. You don't."
You don't, yeah.
Classic,
if anybody knows, it's Bisping. Yeah.
Classic. Yeah, that is wild, man. That is wild that he managed to get back in there. A great win for Zulaba. I totally agree with you. He's one of those guys now that's putting the top 15 on notice, right? He's made a name for himself. He's starting to he probably needs one more fight before he gets there, I think. But then he's really knocking on that door, man. He's really knocking on that door. You've got to get another couple of exciting fights. Mark Giacchese, for example, that would be a fun fight.
Oh yeah,
something like that. Because they're in and around that top 15 as well. So there's some really fun fights in there, right? There's some ones that I'd like to see, and then just see him push on to the top.
But no rush either. He's only 24, right? He's 24.
Yeah, totally.
Topuria is 27 or 28, so he fought 3 times being ranked, and he got a title shot or twice, right? Mitchell, Emmett. So let Daniel progress the
Let
way
him
he
do his
is
thing.
doing it.
Let
Yeah,
him do
and
his
then
thing.
maybe one or two fights outside the division, and then get him to the division, because then get him inside. So like you could definitely find him a fight versus Bobby Green, Jalen Turner,
Mhm.
RDA, Renato Moicano, Drew Dober. Like those are all the ranked top 10 to 15. Like I would like to see him fight in a year or two against those guys.
Yeah, there's loads of super exciting fights for him. Another Mexican lady this time at 115 and unanimous decision, Yasmin Jauregui. Pretty much beat Sam Hughes very convincingly in all facets, right? I was pretty impressed with her in this fight.
I had her 30-27. I think she comfortably won every round, non-domination, but she had an answer for everything Sam Hughes threw. I thought it was gonna be a very striker versus wrestler type fight. Um, and like Sam Hughes has to get Yasmin to the ground and just ground and pound and like keep the top position. But Yasmin had an answer for everything and pushed her away.
Yeah, it was a really really good performance. I mean, again, is she another one that you're seeing, kind of like we were just saying about Zulaber? She one fight away from getting to those top 15 fights, or do you think she's about ready for one of those, especially that's lower down there? Similar to who was it the other week we were talking about, who could have some fun fights at the bottom of that top 15. Who was it now? It's totally left my mind. Oh, we were talking
Was
about it a
that
few weeks ago.
could it
Anyway,
be Molly McCann?
possibly, possibly, maybe. Yeah, because we were saying don't throw. Yeah, because we were saying don't throw her in with Gillian Robertson. Throw her in with like Michelle Gomez or
Yes, yes,
Carolina. Yeah, same. Yeah. Yeah. So what do you think
yeah.
about Jarigi? You think she's in there, or again just
She,
similar
she
to
is in
Zulaban?
there. Uh, but she's not in the men's lightweight division, which is stacked from like the top 30.
Yeah.
Yasmin's in the women's strawweight division. So I feel like she could go into the rankings way sooner. She could go into rankings next fight, to be honest. Um, in the strawweight division, somebody 10 to 15 mark and climb her way up there because she looked impressive.
Mm.
Um, in the women's division, unfortunately, there's not as much talent, so we could definitely see her. I could definitely see her fight in the rankings
Yeah,
later
I
this
mean,
year.
Tapology has her at 20 in the world's best female strawweights. Ahead of her is Loma Lookboonmee, Michelle Gomez, Robertson, Tisha Torres, etc. And funny enough, at 22 is Denise Gomes, who's the only one that she's dropped a loss to. I
So
don't,
that could be a future matchup of like a rematch of like,
yeah, I
oh
mean, Gomes is coming off a
yeah,
loss. She's coming off
yeah,
a loss recently as well. So yeah, maybe that's one you could do. Or again, do you feed her to a Michelle Waterson? Tisha Torres is matched up.
I
Um,
think Michelle Waterson also has a fight lined up, if I'm not mistaken.
very possibly, very possibly.
I
But yeah,
feel
I mean,
like
she's on a 4-fight loss streak as well, so she's not doing so great. Yeah, it
yeah,
could be
if
interesting.
give her one of the vets that shouldn't be ranked anymore, so they could take the ranking.
Yeah,
That's how I
I
feel.
mean, I love Karolina Kowalkiewicz. I mean, she's on a 4-fight win streak, so
She
she
she reached
she's
Lazarus as
probably
well.
looking up. Yeah, we're talking about Lazarus. Yeah, which she's probably looking up as well. So yeah, maybe you do that. No, it's probably too soon to do that rematch actually. So maybe you do Michelle Gomez, right? Michelle
Maybe
Watson.
as long maybe one more fight outside and then one fight inside
Mm,
the ranking, so she's ranked by the end of the year. And
yeah.
she could be, she's Mexican strawweight. You have Grasso, who's a flyweight, who's also a Mexican champion. So it could be like a good push for the Mexicans to have a jump in the women's divisions.
Yeah, we're probably looking at that 306 card anyway, right? I would imagine a lot of the guys from this card that have picked up wins will be rebooked on that 306.
Yeah, as long
Um,
at least in the prelims. So
yeah,
somebody,
for
yeah.
sure, for sure, for sure. Opening fire tonight. Right,
You want to skip this
I'm gonna
one or
take out my headphones. I'm gonna put the sound off. You go, you do your thing.
okay? Well, as I said last time, um, Chris Duncan hasn't impressed me since he got to the UFC, but the guy he's fighting, Emmanuel Torres, is just on another level. He is so good everywhere, and you saw that in the 4 minutes he fought against Chris Duncan. I think Duncan made a mistake. He landed on Manuel Torres and he hurt him, and he went for the takedown instead of continuing. But then you see Torres is so agile on the ground, and he's so slick. He went on his back while Duncan was standing and kept going for that submission, and eventually locked it up. I think he just tired out. He really tired out Duncan, hurt him, kept putting up the pressure with the submissions and the grappling, and got the finish.
Yeah, I think you summed it up pretty well there. I was super giddy when Duncan hit that first combination. I was just like, yeah, here we go. Here we go. But unfortunately, it just wasn't to be. I mean, it just goes to show that, there's some serious levels to this game. And Manuel Torres, when it got to the grappling, he was just stuck to him. He was absolutely stuck to him. And Duncan just couldn't quite find a way. He gets the rear naked choke in the end. I mean, he had it in a couple of times. Duncan defended it well, firstly, but he never really managed to get a scramble, never really managed to get away from Torres. And it was kind of, the pressure was there. And you just think, oh, is he going to get it? He's going to get it. Yeah, he's got it. Okay. Game over. Manuel Torres, again, that stacked 155 division, right? He's sitting right in and around there.
Versus Torres versus Daniel, if down the line, that would be an incredible fight. If you could headline that in another UFC Mexico night, that would be pretty big. So,
yeah. I mean, I guess it's the same conversation, because again, if we go back to that Tapology ranking, Torres is at 47 and Daniel Zuluber is at 49. So it's a similar conversation, right? Yeah, it's a similar conversation.
And Tapology ranks every lightweight, like in all the other leagues as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and they're still both young, right? I believe Daniel's 24.
I think he's 21, is he, Manuel Torres?
And Manuel Torres is
28. Sorry, my bad. Yeah.
So they're still young. Torres is just hitting his prime now. So I would actually throw him before Daniel to fight in the rankings. I think Torres' next fight could be in the rankings. Because I believe he finished all of his opponents in the UFC so far. Yeah, he finished everybody in the UFC. So I think with a finishing streak, you could definitely deserve a ranking spot soon. I mean, next fight.
This is out there, but we are a UK-based podcast. If Paddy the Baddie's not going to get a top 15, do you throw one of these dudes to Paddy the Baddie and just have an absolute?
You want to see a murder? Display? You want to see a murder? I don't know what's happening.
Get so down on Paddy, man. Honestly.
Conversation
for another day. Conversation for another day.
Sure. It could be. It is a nice matchup. Yeah. If Paddy's probably just outside the top 15 as well.
Yeah.
He hasn't lost yet in the UFC. He fought Tony, and Jared Gordon, who both of them are just outside ranked. So it could be a fight. It'll be a good matchup.
Yeah, it will be. I haven't seen the prelims, so I'm throwing over to you. I have not had time to watch the prelims. What did you see on the prelims? What interested you? What do the guys need to go back and look at if they want to go and watch the prelims of this Mexico card?
I'll do a quick summary of all the fights. Christian Quinones versus Ryan Barcelos. Barcelos put on the pressure at the end, got the submission. Big upset for the Mexican crowd as well. I like these matchup, Brazil versus Mexico, to see who has the edge in the MMA world. Barcelos got the victory done at the end. Just of note as well, no fights higher than lightweight division.
Yeah, they didn't want no big boys gassing.
yes. I think they mentioned on the broadcast. I think the altitude in Mexico City is 25,000 feet above sea level.
Yeah, it's high.
So you definitely. I think only Cain Velasquez would be able to fight it there.
Yeah. One thing we did miss actually was obviously Raul Rotas Jr. being rebooked for next week.
I don't know. Did you see what Ricky posted on his story?
No, I did not.
He said no contracts have been signed.
Oh.
Ricky said, I consider that a win. Peace out. I'll see you next fight. Because he wasn't happy with Raul Jr. pulling out 5 minutes before the fight.
Okay. Okay.
I would check out his story. I'm sure Dana will find a way to get them booked. So Saturday, exactly. So
Give your man that cheddar.
Got a little money. Going down more the prelims. Jesus Aguilar versus Mateus Mendoca. I don't know how our viewers scored it. I did have Jesus winning it very closely though. I know a lot of people are upset with it. It was another split decision. People were very upset how it happened. I just gave the edge of Jesus just because of his strikes looked more damaging than Mateus. But yeah, going down more before then was Edgar Chairez versus Daniel Da Silva. I was actually high on Daniel Da Silva before, well, when you start his UFC career, but Chairez got the submission win in the first round. So Mexican won another fight. Before them, Claudio Puelles versus Fares Ziam. You do not have to watch that fight. It was extremely boring. It was Claudio Puelles doing his best impression of a BJJ fighter versus Ziam. Even Ziam coming out after. You could check out on our Twitter page saying he wants a striker. He wants somebody to stand up next time with, because Puelles just tried to take him down. Yeah. So Puelles attempted 13 takedowns in 15 minutes, right? And got 7 takedowns. However, he landed 17 strikes, and Ziam landed 58 strikes out of 82, which is 70% of strikes landed. This was my controversial fight of the day. Was Victor Altamirano versus Felipe Dos Santos. I'm a big fan of Dos Santos since he fought Cap, because it was short notice. It was fight of the night. It showed he could hang with the top 15 in the division. Yeah. However, I don't know how he won this fight. It was another controversial split decision, and after it stunned the crowd. It stunned me. I don't know how he won the fight. He was behind on everything. I guess he threw a little bit more damage, but I feel like for every one punch Felipe Dos Santos threw, Victor threw 4 and landed. Wow. So maybe that one punch, it did seem to the judges he did more damage. Well, whatever. He got the win. Good for him. He could move on from this win and try to build up into the flyweight division. And the first fight of the night, Eric Silva versus Mohamed Naimov. Unfortunate injury for Eric Silva in the first 30 seconds, 15 seconds. So all we saw was one strike that a spinning heel kick from Naimov landed. He kind of buckled around the cage, I guess. And then the referee stopped it because Silva wouldn't even stand up. He seemed like a visible injury, but Naimov has the win streak now. See if he can build up off this. He's also a big star in his own country of Tajikistan, I believe. It was kind of funny after in the post-fight interview in the cage. They had the translator there for Spanish speakers, but he spoke Russian after, and he's like, and whoever's in the octagon was like, we don't know what he said, but I'm sure it was nice. When he was thanking the country, his home country.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that's the summary of the prelims. If you guys really want to watch a fight, want to judge your own card, I would say watch Felipe Dos Santos' Victor and Jesus versus Mateus.
Awesome. So that was UFC Fight Night back in Mexico City. A lot going on, a lot to talk about, a lot of ramifications for some divisions. We'll be back later this week with the preview for Gaziev and Rosenstruck. I did say that right, didn't I? Gaziev. And also maybe an Octagon preview as well. Massive card for Octagon this weekend. John, thank you very much for your time, buddy. Much appreciated as always. And we'll see you all next time.
See y'all.